morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
The first time we met Bob Kinford. He was a working cowboy just south of the Canada-U.S. border in the shadow of Chief Mountain near Waterton. And he'd written a book called Cowboy Romance and sent us a copy. And we were heading for an event in Kobodee, Wyoming, so we stopped in and we got some of Bob's great stories.
I backfilled the trailer up, and this guy, he's going to help. The bull, he decided he didn't want to load in the trailer. He got 1 foot in the trailer and laid down.
And Baxter Black takes a far-ranging look into finding success in the livestock business.
Odd business banking. You know, the instant they complete your loan transaction, they begin to look at you with suspicion.
On the Rangeland News, a lot of interesting developments as 2020 begins.
Putting pressure on cattle and beef prices.
What's putting pressure on the prices, Gary? Well, we will find out. And in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, another masterpiece from the late, great Sonny Hancock.
Them dogs is all running and barking, just causing confusion, of course. And if one wasn't parking on his butt in the gate, why the was healing your horse.
Now that one will be all about cow dogs, and on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, a listener's having trouble getting enough impulsion and forward motion from her horse, and I'll let you know what might work. And the entertaining cowboy consultant Bob Kinford shares some stories after a young singer that Baxter Black suggested we look at. His name is Austin Whaler.
His hands are shaking and the breath he's taking is weak. Lost in time, trapped in his mind, a tear rolling down his cheek. He can't understand this wasn't the plan, but he's fought all he can fight. 80 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and it all ends tonight. With fear all around and death staring him down, oh, he just smiles back. He's the bravest soul I've ever known, my hero, my dad. He worked himself to death with 60-hour weeks and burned at both ends all his life. Now he's a man's man with barbed wire hands. He could look the devil square in the eye. A cowboy, an Air Force man, and everything to me. We love you, Dad. Rest in peace, checking fence on those golden streets. He'd holler for the boys, put down them toys, load up in the truck. 'Cause God, our maker, gave us 10,000 acres to ride, to check and have fun. He could shoot them down, tear down the town, and dance the night away. But he'd be up at dawn, have the coffee on, and work harder than he played. The angels have called, he didn't listen at all, no matter how hard they tried. 4 heart attacks, cancer, and that couldn't stop a man too busy to die. He worked himself to death with 60-hour weeks and burned at both ends all his life. Now he's a man's man with barbed wire hands. He could look the devil square in the eye. A cowboy, an Air Force man, and everything to me. We love you, Dad. Rest in peace, checking fence on those golden streets. Treated her right, gave her a family. 60 years together, turning into forever. They'll last through eternity. As he drifts away, his eyes seem to say, I love and miss you all. The years pass his mind to another time. himself to death with 60-hour weeks and burned at both ends all his life. Now he's a man with barbed wire hands. He could look the devil square in the eye. A cowboy, an Air Force man, and everything to me. We love you, Dad. Rest in peace. Checking fence on those golden streets. Yeah, we love you, Dad. Rest in peace. Checking fence on those golden streets.
Well, no doubt about it. Baxter was right. That guy is well worth listening to. A song that Austin wrote about his dad, checking fences on the golden streets. Well, at a cow camp in northwest Montana, Bob Kinford had just cooked breakfast and finished it off with his own cherry cobbler. Now, this cowboy can cook. He wasn't really comfortable, though, with me poking a microphone in his face, and in his effort to avoid it, he leaned back so far in the chair it went over backwards, but we got him picked up and started again. And that's when he mentioned that his folks might have known how he'd turn out. His initials are R-E-K, and they spell wreck.
Bob, I guess that you have been in a few.
Working an outfit down in Nebraska, and we decided to move the cows in closer. And we had some pairs that we had to tag up, and there's a snowstorm coming in and wind blowing, and we're already calving the heifers out, so we were running night shift, splitting it up between the two of us. And some friends had come down, so we, instead of getting sleep, we stayed up most of the night and telling stories between checks. So the old boy's wife was going to go and drive along, and we'd drive the pairs down to her, and we'd tag the calves right there. She'd make them up in the truck and let them dry on the radiator or on the froster. And I come down riding this colt, coming down the hill, and I go to bring my rope up, and my Honda went around my spur, and I couldn't get it off. So I pull up right before the fence, and I go to step off, and somehow I hung my toe in the stirrup. So I'm sitting there, 1 foot up in the air, and rope in my hand, and the other end of it around my heel. And so I got my foot out, got the stirrup off, and I went, and somehow I tripped over my rein. And I just threw the rope out in front of me, and the calf went underneath the fence. So I go ahead and get up, and I go to get the calf, because it's crawling back underneath the fence, and I grab the calf by a leg, and I drag it back to the horse, jerk down a piggin string, tie it up, and I stand up, and I broke my shaft belt and all this. My chinks fell down around my ankles. Oh, Wallaby, she thought that was about the funniest thing she ever did. It took her 5 minutes to recover, so she'd write up the tag.
And this is how you do it.
Oh, yeah, that's just an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. Well, when a cowboy and a horse and a rope get together, sometimes your reflexes, as Bob puts it, can be more quick than smart. Another romantic adventure when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
How about a weekend pass to the 24th Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Velgar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
In a big prairie moon rides a big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show workshop. The best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Bob Kinford has always been a little bit off the beaten track. Right now, he's known internationally for his stockmanship methods, that allow ranchers to conduct regenerative grazing methods without adding fences or full-time cowboys. And he's also known for his interesting and unique sense of humor, and he's also a great storyteller.
Had a bull that had a real bad case of foot rot. And after I got him down and got to doctoring on it, I was decided I was gonna go back up to my truck. I had some more medicine up there. I was gonna give him a bigger dose, and then I got thinking, well, maybe I ought to just take and put him in the trailer. And about that time, there was a guy from the fence crew going by. This was all going on right alongside of the highway where everybody could see it. So he whips in to see what I'm doing. He says, well, you want to ride up to your truck? Well, yeah, I mean, the horse I'm riding is riding a three-legged pogo stick anyway, so I hobble him up, and as we're pulling out of the pasture onto the highway to go up the other end, he goes, you know, somebody drives by and looks at that, it's going to look like there's one heck of a wreck. So as I'm pulling back in with the trailer, here's his car.
Just let me get the picture now. The bull is still tied down, is he?
Yeah, the bull's tied down and the horse is hobbled.
There's no rider in sight.
There's no rider in sight. So I'm pulling back in. Here's this old boy. He's got his car parked on the road, and he is looking for the body. So I backed the trailer up, and this guy, he's going to help me. And the bull, he decided he didn't want to load in the trailer. He got 1 foot in the trailer and laid down. So I just kind of tied him to the side of the trailer, doctored him with what I had, and went to let him out of the trailer. Well, he kind of laid there, and I got him up, and he stepped somehow. I put 1 foot back in the picking string, and he was standing on the end of it, and as he pulled through, the rope pulled tight around his foot. So thinking real smart like, you know, you do on these type of situations, I grabbed the whole end of this picking string on this
Reflexes.
reflexes. Yeah, more quick than smart. And I grabbed a hold of that picking string, stretched the leg back, and kind of trying to go around where the bull couldn't get a head-on shot at me. And I had the foot in my hand, and just getting ready to slip that picking string off, and this old boy decides to help, and he picks up the end of it and pulls the rope around me where I didn't have any place to go. Couldn't get the string off. So I had to run in front of the bull, which was the only place to go because he was coming at me. And he kind of caught me by the left cheek and bolted-footed me about 40 feet.
Bolted-footed you?
Yeah, it's, I couldn't get mad at the old boy. He was just trying to help, but it was like, it's hard to stand that type of romance.
Oh, man. Let go of that rope.
Yeah, you dumb son of a gun, you.
Yeah.
But it just makes for more material.
Did you eventually get the bull in the truck, or did you decide?
No,
to leave
I doctored him with everything that I
had,
had, and I should have just let him go anyways, because I put a metal ring in my picking string, and after he walked for about 50 feet, the picking string fell off, but I didn't want to walk that far.
Yeah.
Easier to get thrown that far.
Well, Bob Kinford talks about the many interesting places and ranches he's ridden for in a long cowboy career, and you'll hear it right after one from the gentleman outlaw from Arkansas, Royal Wade Kimes.
Got a sorrel horse that he calls Old Fred. His Stetson hat seldom leaves his head. Spurs and cowboy boots are on his feet. They're worn out like him. He's a dying breed. When first light comes, he'll ride the range. It breaks his heart in two to see his world change. It keeps getting smaller to meet the city folks' needs. They're buying up the land. He's a dying breed. Now memory comes drifting across his mind of a simple, better place and another time. cars and trucks. They're using four-wheelers now to round the cattle up. They're calling it progress, but he's calling it greed. He still respects the land, but he's a dying breed. Don't need no lawyers to settle his fights. His heart tells him what's wrong, all right. He's the last of the old West that we're gonna see. He's living proof that they're a dying breed. He's living proof that they're a dying breed.
Well, we sure hope not, Royal Wade. When we had that visit with Bob Kinford, he was living in a cow camp alone with a string of good horses, riding in that beautiful northwest Montana cattle country in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, and I asked him about some of the other places he's ridden.
Well, I've worked down in New Mexico and Nevada. Some of that Nevada country, it looks really dry. Well, it is dry. And then you look up at the mountains and it looks dry. And one outfit I worked down there, it had a canyon a mile in back of the house that looked like you couldn't run a cow up it. And you'd go up that canyon and there's a big old cottonwood tree, and right on the other side of the cottonwood tree there's this water disappearing into the ground. And the higher up the canyon you go, the more water you get. And it got to a spot where they had a 16-foot gate across that canyon, keep the cows from trying to get up there before they're supposed to. And you open that gate up and go in there, and you had timothy and fescue and orchard grass stir up deep in there, just water every place. Just, other than a few too many rattlesnakes, it was really good country.
There's another story in the book about, and I can't remember what state the ranch was in, but some interesting country, and
it was Rustler, the RV.
That's the RV ranch.
Yeah, that was kind of a cute deal there. The old boy that I bunked with there, he had kind of a neat way of starting the fires. He had had a 50-50 mix of gasoline and diesel, and he poured about a half gallon of it in the pot-bellied stove and sit back and start flinging matches at it until it kind of exploded and lit. Made for kind of an aromatic bunkhouse.
Yeah.
But we're out moving cows one day, and this airplane circled out, and it landed out on these alkali flats. And those alkali flats can get pretty soft. I mean, it looks like it's nice firm ground, but it's not really. And as this plane was slowing down as it landed, it just kept settling deeper and deeper, and then it kind of went right up on its nose. And it was a newlywed couple, and the guy decided he needed to kind of relieve some coffee. And we went back to the ranch. They were okay, and we went back to the ranch. We got them 4 sheets of plywood and a gallon of water, helped them get that plane up onto the 2 sheets of plywood, and then left it to them to get themselves the rest of the way out.
So they had to, the two of them had to walk that plane across the solid ground.
I forget how far exactly. It was between a half mile and a mile they had to do it. And that night we heard that plane rev up and it took off. And I always kind of wondered if that old boy's wife ever forgave him for that one.
For that landing.
They got rid of their coffee before they got out of the plane.
Yeah, I bet they did. Well, when we come back, Baxter Black will have a thought-provoking look at success in the livestock business and the rangeland news when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. 100 Mile House Cowboy Concert tickets are now available, and they're only $20 each. Saturday, February the 8th. Choose between a 2 o'clock matinee or a 7 o'clock evening show. Gary Felgarner, Bruce Rolfe, and Jeremy Willis will entertain. Tickets available at PMT Chartered Professional Accountants, Work and Play, and 100 Mile Feed. Proudly sponsored by the Free Press and Country 840. For more information, call Mark, 1-888-763-2221.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, and I'll be right back after this with a little peek at poor Jerry.
Your land is a legacy, a challenge from those who tended it before you to build on their foundations. At Corteva Agriscience, we understand what it means to be the stewards of a legacy. We embrace the challenge of building on the foundation of Dow AgroSciences to maintain your trust, to bring new solutions, to help you care for your land. See how we can help build your legacy at rangeandpasture.com.
And for our Canadian listeners, just check Corteva.ca, the Canadian website.
I got a note from my cobbler the other day. I'd sent him some boots to resole. He does business in a ranching town in western Nebraska. He wrote commenting that it's not easy making $1 off the farmer and the cowboy. Well, he thanked me for the job, and he closed, "Drag your feet," signed Poor Jerry. When the price of corn or cattle or cotton takes a nosedive or bounces back and forth like a ping-pong ball in a blender, it makes it hard to plan a budget. And these market fluctuations also have a trickle-down effect in the community, which depends on these producers for a living. It takes a pretty nimble businessman to be successful under these circumstances, like poor Jerry there, always working the angles. Or those kamikaze bankers who keep soliciting your business by offering a free toaster, temporarily low interest rates, or checks with pictures of prisoners on the front. Odd business banking. You know, the instant they complete your loan transaction, they begin to look at you with suspicion. Implement dealers, too, must live in a world all their own. It's like they're selling yachts or mansions in Beverly Hills, except not to rich movie stars or Arabian princes, but to a farmer who wears a giveaway cap and spits on the side of his truck. Animal health suppliers have always been innovative, marketing their products. Plagues, contagion, epidemics, and bad weather all combine to keep medicine salesmen in business. You're in their store griping about the incidence of pneumonia, and they're nodding seriously as they stuff your bag full of precious remedies, more valuable than gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Must be hard for them to keep from smiling. But in all fairness, all us vets, pickup dealers, co-ops, sale barn callers, seed salesmen, and door knockers depend on you farmers and ranchers and would never wish you hard times. However, you can't blame us for stimulating business whenever we can. Like poor Jerry, the last time I was in his store, I noticed that he'd glued sandpaper to the floor, rough side up, just inside the door and in front of the counter. Pretty clever, I thought. That boy's always thinking.
You take care now. Don't forget to drag your feet.
This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by Corteva AgroScience.
How about a weekend pass to the 24th Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Velgar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
And a big prairie moon rides the big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show workshop. The best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Just ahead of the Rangeland news, this is from a CD collection of music by British Columbia songwriters and singers. And if there's a dance going on at the community hall on a winter night, this would have everybody up on the floor. John Robert Goodwin and I just want to sing my song.
I was raised in the hills, and my dad worked at the sawmill. And Mama, she'd be cooking all day long. The first job that I had was piling lumber with my dad. He taught me what was right from what was wrong. Well, I just want to sing my song so that it turns out right, like Alan Jackson on the TV show, like Chris and Hank, George Jones. They've all made the big time, and I just wonder how far a country boy can go. When I got my first guitar, I didn't think I'd get too far. But Daddy, he did help me pick and sing. Pretty soon I got the chance to go play for a dance, and I wouldn't miss this chance for anything. Well, I just wanna sing my song so that it turns out right, like Alan Jackson on the TV show, like Chris and Hank, George Jones, they've all made the big time. And I just wonder how far a country boy can go. It's a long, rocky road from Bear Lake to Nashville, but Daddy, he did help push me along. He said, a star someday you'll be, and we'll be watching you on TV, and we'll be here to help you sing your songs. 'Cause I just wanna sing my song so that it turns out right, like Alan Jackson on the TV show, like Chris and Hank and George Jones, they've all made the big time. And I just wonder how far a country boy can go. Yeah, I just wonder how far a country boy can go.
Now the news of the Rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
At the top of page 1, it says the markets, the weather, the banks all play a part in the success of a cattle operation. And looking down the road at 2020, the weather may have been a factor that will pressure prices later this year. Gary Crawford has the story.
Most private cattle trade analysts expected USDA Cattle on Feed report to show November cattle placements in feedlots to be only about 1% higher than November 2018. What they got was a placement number 5% bigger than a year ago at just under 2.1 million head, leaving cattle feedlot inventories December 1st 2% above a year ago. So USDA livestock analyst Shale Shagam says this is definitely a bearish report. What brought on such large placements, though? Shagam says that awful October weather may have delayed movement of some cattle to feedlots until November. Also,
quite possibly there was some pasture development that was in terms of winter pastures in the southern plains, which aren't fully established, and you couldn't turn the cattle out yet, so some of those cattle went to feedlots as well.
At any rate, the result,
a fair amount of beef coming into the chain as we look towards the middle part of 2020.
Putting pressure on cattle and beef prices. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
Canada's cattle and dairy sectors will have 2 years to familiarize themselves with the federal livestock transportation regulations that come into effect on February 20th. Federal Agriculture Minister Marie-Claude Bibeau told cattle producers they'll have a transition period before the Canadian Food Inspection Agency institutes hard enforcement that would include fines and penalties for non-compliance. The cattle sectors have expressed concern about the availability and capacity of offloading facilities. They contend that loading and unloading cattle in transit causes stress and increases risk of injury, while the benefits of an 8-hour rest period for cattle have not been established. As well, cattle producers are concerned about health risks associated with commingling cattle in temporary facilities while the rule-imposed rest is provided. The number of Montana livestock killed by predators continues to set new records. George Edwards, executive director of Montana's Livestock Loss Board, told stockmen at the Montana Wool Growers Convention that in just 10 months they've paid claims on 352 head of livestock killed, which is up from 269 by this date a year ago. The total dollars paid for grizzly claims is almost double the claims paid for wolf losses, and George attributes that difference to the fact that wolves have been delisted from the endangered species list, and the state now has the ability to manage wolf numbers. Well, the next regular cattle sale at the BC Livestock Co-op yards in Kamloops is January the 11th. And then on January 28th, the regular sale along with a bred cow and heifer sale. Next sale at the Vanderhoof yards is February the 14th. Get the whole schedule, watch the sale streaming live at bclivestock.bc.ca. Meanwhile, at the Innisfail Auction Market, regular cattle sales every Wednesday, pre-sort sales on Mondays, and you can get all the details at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com or give Danny, Mark, or Dwayne Danes a call, 1-800-710-3166. Now the final item. Quite a few years ago, Billy and I rode for a ranch where the owner insisted that we treat pink eye in cattle with an injection of evaporated canned milk. So we always carried a few cans in our saddlebags, and it worked fine until we had to poke a hole in one and then draw it into a syringe to inject it into a cow. We could never get it sealed up properly, and after a long, hot summer, our saddlebags smelt pretty bad. And a post from Rob Tanner, publisher of Canadian Cowboy Country, kind of reminded us of that summer. Here's Rob's post. A little old lady from North Carolina had worked in and around her family's dairy farm since she was old enough to walk, with hours of hard work and little compensation. So, when canned Carnation milk became available in grocery stores, she read an ad offering $5,000 for the best slogan rhyme, beginning with "Carnation milk is the best of all." She said to herself, "I can do this." She sent in her entry, and about a week later, a black limo drove up in front of her house. A man got out and said, "Carnation loved your entry so much, we're here to award you $1,000, even though we will not be able to use it." So here was what she wrote. "Carnation milk is best of all. No tits to pull, no hay to haul. No buckets to wash, no to pitch. Just poke a hole in the son of And that's the Rangeland News coming up on the Irvin Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File. A listener has a problem getting forward motion from her horse, and I'll offer a few suggestions when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. 100 Mile House Cowboy Concert tickets are now available, and they're only $20 each. Saturday, February the 8th. Choose between a 2 o'clock matinee or a 7 o'clock evening show. Gary Felgarner, Bruce Rolfe, and Jeremy Willis will entertain. Tickets available at PMT Chartered Professional Accountants, Work and Play, and 100 Mile Feed. Proudly sponsored by the Free Press and Country 840. For more information, call Mark, 1-888-763-2221. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The Irvin Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File is coming right up. And, it really doesn't work to try and get flexibility and direction from your horse until you've got free forward motion. We'll look at ways to do that after something pretty special. Here is the latest on the next Spirit of the West cruise. We are calling this The Spirit of the West Brings It Home. And as I said last week, this will be our 19th annual, and after that many years, Billy and I will be stepping back from hosting cruises after this one, so we really want to make it memorable and as uncomplicated as possible. So here's how we plan to do things. Folks from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and beyond, and in the U.S. will probably fly to Kelowna, BC on July 15th, overnighting there in a beautiful hotel, and then board the coaches for a trip up to the McLennan Ranch, our little place above Kamloops. And you'll be treated to a live show with the amazing Western Spirit Band, along with special guest Lewis the Big Rig McIver, who of course gave me one of his kidneys. And after the visit to our place, the coaches will take you to beautiful Sun Peaks, where you can ride the chairlift, see the mountain wildflowers, and see the place where cattle still graze and have done so in the summers for over 100 years. After overnighting there, the coaches head to Vancouver. You overnight then, and in the next morning, board the beautiful Holland America Koningsdam for a 7-day trip up the Inside Passage to Alaska and back. You don't fly back, you ride the ship back. And we'll have lots of special events for our cruise group, including one of our favorite trips, the White Pass Railroad. We sure hope you can join Billy and I on our farewell cruise, and for all the information, you can see the cruise page at hugh-mclennan.com and call 1-800-530-0131. Over the years, so many wonderful friends we've made, so many terrific, memorable experiences. And if you go to our cruise Facebook page, I hope to get some videos from past years up there, and no doubt you'll see a lot of folks you'll recognize. And as I said, after this one, we'll be stepping back from hosting cruises, but the Spirit of the West cruise will still go on.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Okay, you know that Irvin's is all about Western wear with a welcome twist. But Irvine Tack and Western Wear is also famous for their home decor with a Western twist. Beautiful rustic dining room and kitchen tables, wooden chests and drawers, bedroom furniture, wall decor, and more. So stop in soon, take your time, and explore Irvin's Western home decor. Something special for every room and every nook and cranny. Exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield.
Canada's largest Western store.
And of course, you can shop online at irvinsaddles.ca. The question is, when I get ready to ride my horse, how do I make him go forward? Do I need spurs? I kick and I pull, but he won't move forward. Does my horse need more training? I need advice. Well, maybe you don't need spurs. Just about everyone who has been successful at starting colts has had to learn that you can't get steering, speed changes, collection, or any kind of control until you first have impulsion. Even before the first saddling, a lot of us will teach a horse to move out freely on cue, usually on a 24-foot line, sometimes at liberty in a round pen. Mike Kevill did a great job winning the Trainers' Challenge at the Chilliwack main event, and those of you who were there saw the second thing he did was to teach his somewhat sticky colt to move forward in response to a light cue from his hand while he was on the ground. Mike made a clucking sound, and then he put gentle pressure with his hand right where his heel would be if he was in the saddle. Soon as the colt took a step forward, he removed the pressure. And so I would say that rather than stay in the saddle and jab your horse with a pair of spurs or use a switch, get off and teach him to move ahead from the ground on cue. A lot of us have paid the price over the years for indiscriminate use of spurs. Spurs are kind of like high-performance tools to be used only by experts. They can add a subtle refinement to a lot of maneuvers, but they've got to be used with perfect timing and intensity. Okay, back to your horse. Once he learns to move forward on cue from the ground, then get back on and make sure you let him know that a cue is coming. Just take up light rein pressure, and when he acknowledges you, squeeze gently with your calves and maybe touch with your heels and cluck to him just like you did from the ground. If he just gives you 2 or 3 forward steps, don't insist on more right there. Let him stop and reward him, and give him a few minutes to think about it, and then I'll bet you the next time he'll give you more. Good luck, and that's the Horse Training File. I was just looking at Lucky the Wonder Horse, my dear old buckskin mare. She's got to be at least 34 or 35 years old now. I opened the gate so she can run into the barnyard for her daily feeding of Hoffman's horse ration, and she comes in on the gallop through a foot of snow. And we attribute a lot of that vigor to Hoffman's Senior Ration. Find out all about it at hoffmanshorseration.com. How about a weekend pass to the 24th Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Velgar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
In a big prairie moon, rides the big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show. Workshop, the best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Bob Kinford has another good story coming up, but first, Matt Robertson will be one of the trainers in the Red Deer Main Event Trainers Challenge in April, and those of you who know Matt are aware that he is a consummate top hand. And his latest CD just arrived this week. Great collection of pure cowboy stuff like this one.
I pulled my collar up and turned my ear flaps down, cussing all the reasons that I quit my job in town. Said a broke down cowboy is all you'll ever be. Since when did I listen to folks squawking at me? I'm broke and I'm lonesome and I'm chilled to the bone, wondering what I'm doing many miles from my home. Strapped to this wildcat over the hill I ride, I'm hanging on to nothing but my outlaw pride. When I got out of college, they said, son, you're guaranteed to make enough money to live your life so free. Well, I made the money, spent it on my sanity. Now I'm back here calving heifers for the old AD. I'm broke and I'm lonesome and I'm chilled to the bone, wondering what I'm doing many miles from my home. Strapped to this wildcat over the hill I ride, and I'm hanging on to nothing but my outlaw pride. Yeah, I'm broke and I'm lonesome and I'm chilled to the bone, wondering what I'm doing many miles from my home. Strapped to this wildcat over the hill I ride, and I'm hanging on to nothing but my outlaw pride. Yeah, I'm strapped to this old wildcat, and over the hill I ride, and I'm hanging on to nothing but my outlaw pride.
Now let's get back to one more episode from the cowboy and consultant Bob Kinford. And we talked a lot about quick reflexes and how sometimes they're good, but sometimes they can get us into trouble.
Yeah, I got these real slow-like reflexes and
reflexes.
Yeah, and it I had a calf running down the fence, and I was going to go ahead and rope it as it went by and drag it up to the trailer and put it in. And just as I threw my rope and started to go to the horn, horse stepped in a badger hole. So I throw 60-foot rope up in the air. Horse comes out of the badger hole and kind of catches his balance. So I reached up and I caught the rope by the end and went to go to the horn and kind of burned my hand a little in the process. But there's always something out there that can happen if you try hard enough.
I suppose.
You can find out more about this horseman, cowboy, teacher, entertainer, and consultant at bobkinford.com, Kinford. Lots of great videos there, too. Now, here's a young guy that's developing a huge following, taking his brand of contemporary Western music to the up-and-coming generation. Sold out shows all over the Eastern West this winter. Coulter Wall.
I cut through the Rockies like some unholy blade. The icy depths of the Pacific I have bathed. Wherever I wander, wherever I stray, the rustle of wheat fields start calling my name, calling my name. Let me die in the country that I love the most. I'm a plain-to-see plainsman, and this I will boast. My heart it lies far from the east or west coast. This plain-to-see plainsman is longing for home, longing for home. Well, the North folk are dandy, they don't mind the cold. The South has filled up both my belly and soul. I know when I'm gray and I know when I'm old. These bones will cry out for the place they were born, the place they were born. Let me die in the country that I love the most. I'm a plain-to-see plainsman, and this I will boast. My heart it lies far from the east or west coast. This plain-to-see plainsman is longing for home, longing for home. I met beautiful women, a pleasure to see. Road-bitten bikers and barefoot hippies, junkies and saints on my travels I'd greet. Far too few a homesick young plainsman like me, plainsman like me. Let me die in the country that I love the most. I'm a plain-to-see plainsman, and this I will boast. My heart it lies far from the east or west coast. This plain-to-see plainsman is longing for home, longing for home.
Colter Wall, the voice they say 50 years his senior. Sounds like that when he's in his 20s. What's he going to sound like in his 50s? Well, something pretty special in our classic Song of the West segment, and an epic piece of cowboy poetry from one of the masters, When the Spirit of the West continues right after this. How about a weekend pass to the 24th Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Velgar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
In a big prairie moon rides the big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show workshop. The best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. This is our classic Song of the West segment, and Rex Allen Jr. has just released a new CD of previously undiscovered recordings of his dad, Rex Allen Sr. He went into the studio, got them enhanced, added some parts, and what a surprise. Who knew that old Rex had recorded this Wilf Carter classic, My Swiss Moonlight Lullaby.
Strolling along in the moonlight by a mountain stream, high upon a mountain, oh, lives my golden dream. Swiss chalet. Strolling along in the moonlight by a mountain stream, high upon a mountain, oh, lives my golden dream. Roll along, oh, silvery moon, roll me on my way, while I sing my yodeloo of my moonlight Swiss chalet. Strolling along in the moonlight by a mountain stream, high upon a mountain, oh, lives my golden dream.
The late Sonny Hancock is in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight this week with one of his classics, Cow Dogs, Generally Speaking.
You know, I always did work for big outfits, even way back when I was a pup. In fact, when I was first getting started, I was still sort of getting growed up. They hired cowboys to handle their livestock and ride out these rim rocks and bogs. I see lots of men working cattle, but I was never around any dogs. Then old age started creeping up on me, and I want to tell you the truth, that wrecks and the spills kind of caught up with me that I'd taken back there in my youth. I was tired of them tough old hard winters and them long 17-hour days, riding them cranky old horses, plus the way that them cow outfits pays. Well, we'd saved up a couple of pesos, so we took out a hell of a loan, and me and my wife and a couple of banks bought a little old place of our own. Now, we all know there isn't much cow work on these Farmer John outfits at all, just a couple of days in the springtime and then 2 or 3 more in the fall. And the rest of the time while you're farming or fencing or putting up hay or wrenching some greasy old tractor, that's enough to make anyone's day. And from the branding you put on in April, and for all of your cow-punching labors, well, you just go and get on the old telephone and you call up a bunch of your neighbors. And early and bright the next morning, they'll start showing up there, of course, and they'll all have at least 3 good cow dogs in the trailer and maybe a horse. I'd heard 'em all talk of these cow dogs, how in pasture and feedlot and pen, each one was a surefire replacement for at least half a dozen good men. Well, I don't want to say they was lying, because that'd be awful uncouth, but I stand here this evening to tell you, they sure kicked hell out of the truth. Them dogs was all running and barking, just causing confusion, of course, and if one wasn't parking on his butt in the gate, why, the bastard was heeling your horse. Cows was all fighting these pot hounds, and then if a calf had run back, why, some old dog would yelp out the signal and they'd build to him all in a pack. And they'd run him plumb out of the country, or at least till he gave out and laid down. Then they'd come back a-grinning and wagging their tails like they'd just been named Grand Champion Hound. They come in all colors and sizes. Those old boys sure knew how to pick 'em. And each one thought, "Come back here, you dumb S.O.B." meant exactly the same thing as sick 'em. But one dog stood out from the others like a hawk with the hens in the yard. He was 10 times as dumb as his brothers. It was Barney's old doggy called Pard. I'm not going to go into detail. If old Pard had fell in the creek, the man with a 5-gallon bucket could have stood and skimmed dumb for a week. Old Barney would holler and cuss him and call him names that I dasn't to mention. But old Pard just kept right on doing his thing, and he wouldn't pay one bit of attention. But then something happened that August that I took as a stroke of good luck. Pard was chasing a rabbit, the Volkswagen kind, and got hit by a Peterbilt truck. That's been just 3 years here this summer, and I want to tell you the truth. It ain't like old Pard ain't been missed some, 'cause he has, about like a sore tooth. But just last week, I went to a Brandon down there at old Joe Dancer's place, and at noon, we all was a-standing around washing our hands and our face, and this new feller had moved into the valley, and we're all BSing there in the yard when I heard Barney telling this new guy about this old cow dog he once had called Pard. Seems that old dog could speak 17 languages. He never done nothing by half, and he always knew right to the letter what an old cow was telling her calf. He could sort out the steers from the heifers. Just ask any of these fellers here. I'd rather have old Pard than 3 or 4 men if I had to hold up a roe deer. He worked ins and bys down an alley. You might have seen some of that kind, but in order to get a dog working like that, why, you sure gotta make that dog mind. I stood there completely dumbfounded, my mind in a terrible fog, and I couldn't believe me and Barney was a-thinking about the same dog. And then a thought hit me over the eyebrows and rolled around under my hat. I could think of a lot of old cowboys that remembered their horses like that. But time heals all wounds, so they tell me, and changes the memories of men, and you don't see things just like they happened, but more like you wish they'd have been. So just for the record, I'll tell you, low down on cow dogs, it's said, they're not worth a flip when they're living, but they're good SOBs when they're dead.
Thank you so much for riding along this week. Sure hope you can join us next week at the same time. And if you need tractor parts, see Mark McMillan's page, bctractorparts.com. Be sure and check out the latest issue of Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine, some terrific articles on cattle handling. Check out our YouTube and podcast versions of the show at hugh-mclennan.com. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.